Hey everyone, let's dive deep into one of the hottest debates right now in the NFL world. Cam Newton versus Jalen Hurts. Two quarterbacks with very different paths, styles, and legacies, but both leaving a mark on the league. If you ask about Cam Newton, you're talking about a guy who was nothing short of electric back in his prime. He burst onto the scene at Auburn, literally changing the quarterback archetype. With his unique combination of size, speed, and power. At 6 feet 5 inches tall and weighing 145 pounds, Cam was a physical specimen who dominated the field in ways rarely seen. His ability to both run and throw made him a nightmare for defenses. You didn't just have to worry about his arm. You had to respect the fact that he could take off and leave defenders in the dust, breaking tackles with that rare blend of agility and strength. Cam's time at Auburn was unforgettable. He led the Tigers to a national championship in a season where he absolutely took over every game. That Auburn team, going head-to-head against Chip Kelly's high-powered Oregon Ducks, proved Cam was a force that no defense could contain. His performance was more than just good, it was historic. Cam Newton was that rare kind of quarterback who could carry his entire team on his back, and he did it with style, swagger, and an undeniable confidence that he was the best player on the field every time he stepped out there. When Cam entered the NFL as the #1 overall pick by the Carolina Panthers, expectations were sky high, and for a good reason. He quickly established himself as a franchise quarterback, with highlight reels full of jaw-dropping plays that combined his athleticism with moments of brilliance through the air. People often referred to him as Superman because of how he looked running around and throwing deep bombs seemingly larger than life. And in 2015, he had what many consider one of the most remarkable MVP seasons in NFL history. The Panthers dominated the regular season, finishing 15-1, earning the top seed in the NFC. Cam was throwing touchdown after touchdown, mixing his passes with powerful runs and inspiring his teammates to new heights. His stats that year: 35 passing touchdowns, 10 interceptions, over 600 rushing yards, and 10 rushing touchdowns, 45 total touchdowns. That's a staggering number for any quarterback, especially one who could do so much damage with his legs. He threw for almost 3,900 yards, with an average of nearly 8 yards per attempt, showing he wasn't just a runner. He was a legitimate dual threat QB, but here's the catch with Cam Newton: as much as his highs were incredible, his lows were equally frustrating. One of the biggest knocks on his game was inconsistency and accuracy. His career completion percentage hovered just below 60%. Which for someone with his talent and athletic gifts was a real issue. In the NFL, you simply can't be a top quarterback if you can't consistently hit your receivers and keep the chains moving. That level of inconsistency made it tough for Cam to maintain elite status over a long period, and that's the thing about greatness at quarterback. It's not just about explosive plays or flashy runs. It's about reliability, precision, and the ability to win games week after week. Unfortunately for Cam, that consistency was never fully there. On the other side of the coin, we have Jalen Hurts, a quarterback who's carving out his own legacy in Philadelphia. Drafted in the 2nd round, Jalen came into the league with fewer expectations than Cam had, but quickly proved he was no ordinary player. From his very first season as a starter, he's avoided losing records and shown that he can win consistently. Jalen brings a different style, combining his ability to run with a much sharper passing game. His accuracy is better than Cam's ever was, and his deep ball is one of the most impressive in the league. More than that, Hurts has shown himself to be a more consistent performer who doesn't rely solely on athleticism to win games. What's more compelling is his leadership. Jalen Hurts isn't just playing well individually, he's elevating the entire team. He's known for being selfless, putting the team's success above his own stats or accolades, and leading both on and off the field. That kind of intangible value is something that can't be measured just by looking at numbers, but it shows in how the Eagles have flourished with him at the helm. Jalen has already won a Super Bowl and was named the MVP of that game, something Cam never accomplished despite his MVP regular season campaign. When Cam Newton said that he wouldn't put Jalen Hurts in the top 10 quarterbacks because Hurts has so much talent around him, it stirred up a lot of debate. But think about it. A quarterback's job is to maximize the talent around him to get the most out of his teammates and put the team in a position to win. If Jalen is surrounded by great players and still manages to lead them to victory, isn't that part of what makes him great? Meanwhile, Cam had his share of talented teammates in Carolina and sometimes still couldn't find that consistency to keep winning. Jalen's stats also stack up impressively when you look at the numbers side by side. especially in their first 62 games as starters. Jalen's completion percentage is over 65%, well above Cam's, and he has fewer interceptions, while still being a threat on the ground with more rushing touchdowns. The numbers don't tell the whole story, but they do paint a picture of a quarterback who is not only effective but efficient and reliable. Jalen's rushing yards and touchdowns show that he can still run when needed, but he also knows when to sit back and dissect defenses with his arm. It's also about the moments that define a player. Jalen Hurts shines brightest when the pressure is at its peak. In the Super Bowl matchups against Patrick Mahomes, widely regarded as one of the greatest quarterbacks of this era, Jalen outperformed him in crucial moments, throwing for more yards, rushing more effectively, and leading his team to victory. That clutch factor, the ability to rise up and deliver when everything is on the line, is something you can't teach. It's what separates champions from good players. Meanwhile, Cam, despite all his talent and individual accolades, never quite got over that hump. In the biggest game, he arrived at the Super Bowl but didn't bring that Superman cape with him in the end. Jalen, on the other hand, has shown he not only brings his cape, but also leads a whole team of Avengers with him, capable of elevating the entire franchise to greatness. So when you weigh it all, it's a fascinating comparison. You have Cam Newton, a only-faking athlete with moments of brilliance, but held back by inconsistency. Then there's Jalen Hurts, a quarterback who combines athleticism, accuracy, leadership, and clutch performances to lead his team to championships. This debate isn't just about stats or style. It's about what it means to be a winner at the quarterback position in today's NFL. Who do you trust to take your team all the way? That's the question that keeps fans talking and analysts debating, and it's a discussion that's far from over. When diving deeper into the comparison between Cam Newton and Jalen Hurts, you quickly realize that what separates these two isn't just raw numbers or flashy plays. It's the subtle nuances in how they command the field, how they carry their teams, and how they respond to the relentless pressure that comes with being the face of an NFL franchise. Cam Newton's story is one of dramatic highs and frustrating lows, a roller coaster ride, defined by moments of transcendent athleticism and leadership clashes that shaped his legacy. He was never just a quarterback, he was a phenomenon. Early in his career, Cam brought a level of excitement that electrified fans and intimidated opponents. His runs weren't just scrambles, they were highlight reel collisions. His throws carried the force of a cannon, but it was his sheer presence that often tilted games in Carolina's favor. However, Cam's path wasn't smooth. The NFL, with its unforgiving pace and precision, demands more than physical prowess. It demands consistency, decision-making under duress, and a quarterback's ability to evolve. That's where Cam often struggled. While he had one of the most powerful arms in the league and could dismantle defenses with his legs, his completion percentages hovered in the high 50s, a metric that consistently raised questions about his ability to read defenses and make pinpoint throws when it mattered most. The inconsistency in his accuracy meant that drives stalled, third downs were missed, and opportunities slipped through his fingers. This inconsistency was a major factor when he faced off against elite competition in the playoffs and the Super Bowl. Despite his physical gifts, defenses would scheme to contain him, forcing him to rely on throws that sometimes missed their mark. Those moments painted a picture of a quarterback who, while capable of spectacular individual plays, struggled to carry a team to sustain success at the highest level. Contrast that with Jalen Hurts, whose rise has been marked by a quiet but relentless maturation as a complete quarterback. Hurts didn't enter the league with the same overwhelming physical dominance as Cam, but what he brought was a sharper sense of timing, a refined passing game, and a mental toughness that has only grown with each game. From the moment Jalen took the reins in Philadelphia, he showed an uncanny ability to balance running and passing in a way that maximizes his strengths without exposing weaknesses. His completion rate has steadily improved, showing he's not just a runner who can throw, but a quarterback who can dissect defenses with precision and poise. Jalen's ability to elevate those around him also stands in stark contrast to Cam's era. The modern NFL isn't just about individual talent, it's about synergy, chemistry, and leadership that transcends the field. Hurts commands respect from his teammates because he embodies humility, hard work, and a willingness to learn. He listens, adapts, and doesn't let his ego overshadow the team's goals. This attitude is critical in a sport where a quarterback is the linchpin for team chemistry. Cam, on the other hand, was known for his charisma and confidence, but also occasionally clashed with coaches and teammates, which sometimes created distractions. His high-profile personality made him a media magnet, but also painted him as divisive in certain locker rooms. Another key aspect is how each quarterback adapts under pressure. Cam Newton's career had flashes of clutch brilliance, but was often marked by moments where defensive pressure rattled him. His size and running ability made it harder for defenders to sack him. But when confronted with blitzes or complex coverages, his passing decisions sometimes faltered. In contrast, Jalen Hurts has shown an impressive calmness under fire. His pocket presence and ability to extend plays without losing sight of his options have been vital for the Eagles. His mobility isn't just a means to run, but a tool to create time and space to find receivers downfield. Hurts rarely panics. Instead, he reads the defense and makes smart plays, even when the pocket collapses around him. Their contrasting playing styles also highlight different defensive philosophies. Cam's Panthers teams relied heavily on his unique dual-threat capabilities, often designing plays that use his legs as a primary weapon. This made Carolina's offense dynamic but sometimes predictable. Defenses knew to contain Cam, and if his passing struggled, the offense would stall. Meanwhile, Jalen Hurts operates in a more balanced offense that leverages his improved passing mechanics along with his ability to run when necessary. The Eagles have built a system that doesn't depend solely on Hurts' athleticism, but encourages quick decision-making, route combinations, and exploiting defensive mismatches. This versatility makes Hurts a more complete threat who keeps defenses guessing at every snap. In terms of career trajectories, the contrast is stark. Cam Newton's peak came early, crowned by that MVP season and a Super Bowl appearance. But injuries and inconsistency eventually led to a decline. The latter part of his career has been a mix of comeback attempts and roles as a backup or short-term starter. Despite his physical gifts, age and wear took a toll, limiting his ability to return to elite form. Jalen Hurts, on the other hand, is in the prime of his career. With his Super Bowl victory and growing list of accolades, he's establishing himself as the quarterback to build a franchise around. His career arc suggests continued growth as his mechanics improve and his decision-making sharpens with experience. Leadership styles between the two also reveal much about their impact. Cam's leadership was often about inspiration and confidence. He was a player who led by example with his toughness and on-field heroics, but his sometimes flashy style didn't always translate into steady leadership. Jalen Hurts is the epitome of steady leadership, calm, composed, and focused on building trust and unity. This kind of leadership creates a foundation that sustains teams through adversity, and long seasons, a critical factor in playoff and championship success. Off the field, Cam Newton's larger-than-life persona made him one of the most recognizable and marketable players of his generation. His style, charisma, and moments of flamboyance and celebrations made him a cultural icon. However, that spotlight sometimes distracted from his game, and off-field issues or criticisms occasionally overshadowed his on-field achievements. Jalen Hurts keeps a lower profile, focusing more on his craft and less on the celebrity aspect, which resonates well with a modern NFL culture emphasizing team over individual. Looking at their head-to-head impact, Jalen's recent success against some of the league's best defenses, including the Kansas City Chiefs, led by Patrick Mahomes, adds a compelling chapter to this story. Winning on the biggest stage in the Super Bowl with solid clutch performances speaks volumes about Hurts' ability to rise to the occasion. Cam's inability to secure that ultimate prize despite dominating regular seasons leaves an asterisk in his legacy when stacked against Hurts' rising star. When you zoom out and consider the evolution of the quarterback position in the NFL, these two players represent two distinct eras and philosophies. Cam Newton was a trailblazer who redefined what a quarterback could be athletically. He opened the door for a new generation of dual-threat QBs. Jalen Hurts, while influenced by that legacy, represents a more modern, refined approach, blending athleticism with precision passing and leadership that fits today's faster, more complex game. In the end, the question isn't just who is better statistically or who has more highlight plays. It's about what each quarterback means to their teams, how they handle the mental and physical grind of the NFL, and how they inspire those around them to reach for greatness. Cam Newton's story is one of raw power and star power, a dazzling but sometimes fleeting comet blazing across the NFL sky. Jalen Hurts is that rising star who's steadily climbing, learning from those who came before him, and building a legacy that could outshine many. This ongoing rivalry, whether friendly or fueled by media hype, invites us to appreciate how diverse and multifaceted the quarterback role is. It reminds us that greatness comes in many forms and that the future of football depends on players like Hurts who combine the lessons of the past with the demands of the present to shape the game's next chapter. Beyond just their physical talents and leadership qualities, what truly sets Cam Newton and Jalen Hurts apart is the way they handle adversity and shape the culture around them. Football is a game of momentum swings and psychological battles, as much as it is about physical skill, and both quarterbacks have navigated this terrain in vastly different ways. Cam Newton's journey has been marked by moments of incredible resilience, yet also by challenges that tested his confidence and adaptability. After his dominant 2015 MVP campaign, expectations soared to unprecedented heights. Fans and analysts alike expected him to dominate the league for years to come. But as injuries piled up and defenses learned to contain his dynamic playstyle, Cam's ability to bounce back was put to the test. His setbacks were highly publicized, and at times the narrative around him became one of decline rather than growth. However, despite these hurdles, Cam's spirit never faded. He continued to fight for roster spots, adapting his game and mindset, even taking on backup roles later in his career. This willingness to reinvent himself underlined a tenacity that remains a defining trait. Jalen Hurts conversely emerged into the league under a different kind of scrutiny. Drafted as a latter-round pick and initially seen more as a running threat than a polished passer, Hurts had to prove his worth continuously. His transition from a college environment where he was a star to an NFL stage where every play is magnified required humility and discipline. Instead of relying solely on his legs or athleticism, Hurts invested heavily in refining his throwing mechanics, reading defenses more deeply, and managing games with poise. This evolution highlights a different kind of resilience, one rooted in patience and relentless work ethic. Unlike Cam's more explosive entrance and early dominance, Hurts has carved out his path steadily, earning respect incrementally through consistent performance and leadership. This process-oriented mindset has helped him build a winning culture around him, one where trust and collective effort are paramount. Their differing relationships with the media also illustrate their personalities and how they manage external pressures. Cam Newton's presence was always magnetic. From his iconic flashy touchdown celebrations to his candid interviews and off-field ventures, Cam embraced the spotlight with a charisma that few players possess. This made him a household name transcending the sport itself, but such intense scrutiny can be a double-edged sword. Cam's every move was analyzed, and when on-field performances wavered, critics were quick to pounce. Jalen Hurts, in contrast, adopts a more reserved approach, focusing conversations on the team and the game rather than himself. This humility has allowed him to avoid some of the distractions that come with celebrity status and maintain a laser focus on improving and winning. It's a more subtle but equally effective way to command respect. On the field, their leadership styles are reflected in how teammates rally around them. Cam's fiery passion often sparked a visceral energy in his locker room. His teammates admired his confidence and willingness to lead through sheer force of will. At times, this approach united the team under a shared belief in their quarterback's unique gifts. However, it could also lead to friction when egos clashed, or when his style didn't mesh perfectly with coaching philosophies. Jalen Hurts represents a modern, more collaborative approach to leadership. He leads by example through preparation, accountability, and communication. His approach encourages dialogue and mutual respect, creating a team culture where players feel heard and motivated. This subtle difference in leadership reflects broader shifts in how teams are managed today, with greater emphasis on emotional intelligence and inclusivity. Technically speaking, the mechanics of their games highlight their evolution as quarterbacks.